Hittite mythology is full of legends. Influenced by Anatolian peoples and Mesopotamian mythologies, Hittite mythology has the highest number of gods among polytheistic beliefs. Let us now introduce Hittite mythology by taking a closer look at its greatest gods, including the main god of Hittite mythology, the legend of the giant serpent Illuyanka, the legend of the disappearing god Telipinu, the legend of Kumarbi, which influenced Greek mythology, and the legend of the storm god as the main god. There were many temples in the cities and regions where the Hittites lived. In these temples, various rituals were organized for the gods and goddesses. The Hittite Pantheon had 1,000 gods or goddesses, which the Hittites state in many archaeological objects. However, only the names of over 600 gods have been revealed in written texts. Hittite mythology was heavily influenced by Mesopotamian mythology, namely Sumerian and Babylonian mythology, as well as the mythology of the Hattians, the indigenous people of Anatolia who lived before the Hittites, and even the mythology of their archenemies, the Hurrians. The Hittites had a chief god and a chief goddess they considered superior to all other gods. The chief god was the storm god Teshub, and the chief goddess was his wife Hepat. Let's look at Hittite mythology's most important gods and goddesses, especially the chief god Teshup and the chief goddess Hepat. The chief and storm god of the Hittites, Teshub, also known as Tarhuna, was the weather god the Sumerians worshipped named Ishkur. He was called Raman by the Babylonians, Adad or Hadad by the Akkadians, and Baal by the Phoenicians. The Hurrians also called him Teshub, and the Hattians called him Taru, meaning victorious. Reliefs of the god Teshub can be seen in Illuyanka, one of the most important temples of the Hittites. The main reason why the Hittites regarded Teshub as the chief god is that he was also the chief god of the Hattians. It was always the god Teshub who maintained the cosmic order, the legal order of the kingdom, and protected the people. The king was his representative and servant on earth. Wind, lightning, thunder, and rain were the most important weapons of the god Teshub. Teshub was also associated with the bull, and many archaeological objects with bull figures have been found during excavations. The goddess Hepat was the consort of Teshub, so the Hittites regarded her as the chief goddess. Hepat, also known as the mother goddess, was the protector of fertility, motherhood, and family ties. Rites and rituals were organized in her name to increase fertility and ensure the well-being of the family. She was also worshipped outside the Hittite lands and was the patron goddess of the city of Aleppo. The god Sharuma was the son of Teshub and Hepat. Known as the king of the mountains, Sharuma was a mountain god. Since he was also associated with war, the Hittites prayed to him for strength and victory in battle. King Tudalia IV, even a relief of him standing side by side with the god Sharuma in the temple of Illuyanka. Anu, another god of Hittite mythology, is the eldest of the 7 major Sumerian gods and the father of the gods. He also appears in Hittite mythology as the father of the chief god Teshub. According to one story, when the sky god Alalu was king of the gods, Anu was Alalu's servant. But one day he rebelled, sent Alalu underground, and became king of the gods for 9 years. Then Anu's servant became the god Kumarbi, but after a conflict with him, Kumarbi bit Anu's phallus and swallowed it. The god Kumarbi was known to the Hittites as the god of grain. He was a god of Hurri origin and the subject of legends. He was also called the father of the gods, but he was born of Alalu, the first god. Although he was not female, interestingly, Kumarbi gave birth to many gods, especially Teshub. I will discuss this Kumarbi legend separately. Enki, the wisdom god of the Sumerians, is also included in the Hittite Pantheon under the name Ea, which is his name in Babylonian mythology. According to the Hittites, Ea, a wise god, represented fertility. When the gods decided to send a flood to destroy humanity, he opposed all the gods For this reason, it overlaps with Sumerian and Babylonian mythology. Another important god or goddess of the Hittites was the sun. However, they were divided into the sun goddess of Arinna. Here, Arinna is the city, the sun god of the sky, and the sun goddess of the earth. But it is known that Utu, the sun god of the Sumerians, basically influenced them. The sun goddess of Arinna was called the Queen of all lands, who protected the Hittite kingdom. The sun god of the sky was known as the protector of justice, the shepherd of humanity, and the light source. Finally, the sun goddess of the earth protected people from evil and disease and ruled the underworld. The Hittites also had a moon god. His name was Kashku, which means shining star. The moon god's name was honored with an annual festival and rituals. Telipinu, the subject of the myths of the disappearing gods and the first child of the god Teshub, is associated with agriculture. He is responsible for sowing seeds, plowing fields, irrigation, growing crops, and reaping harvests. One day, however, Telipinu became angry and disappeared. He took with him the wealth and fertility of the land and threatened the gods, humans, and animals with starvation. One of the most important Hittite legends is the legend of Illuyanka, which is also known to be of Hatti origin. It concerns the battle of Illuyanka, a giant serpent, with the storm god Teshub. According to the legend, Illuyanka and the storm god fight, and Illuyanka wins. Teshub then calls upon all the gods for help. But only the goddess Inara answers the call, organizes a festival, and goes to the city of Ziggurat. Here, she goes to the pit where Illuyanka is. She tells her that there is a festival and invites her. Illuyanka joins the party and drinks until he gets drunk. When he gets drunk, a man from the town ties Illuyanka up with a rope. The storm god Teshub comes and kills Illuyanka. On another tablet, there is another legend. Again, according to this legend, the serpent Illuyanka defeats the storm god Teshub, taking out his eye and heart. Teshub then marries a poor girl and has a son with her. When the son grows up, he marries Illuyanka's daughter. The storm god Teshub then asks his son to take his heart and eye from Illuyanka and return them as a dowry. The son does as Teshub asks and returns his father's eye and heart. When Teshub gets his eye and heart back, he immediately goes to the sea and declares war on Illuyanka. However, this disturbs his son, who sides with the serpent Illuyanka in the battle. So, Teshub is forced to kill both Illuyanka and his son. Another Hittite myth of Anatolian origin, also heralding spring, is the legend of the disappearance of the god Telipinu. This legend was significant to the Hittites, so much so that it was commemorated with prayer, ritual, and magic. According to the legend, one day the god Telipinu, in great anger, took everything good, went deep into the forest, and disappeared. When he left, a huge fog covered the area. The cattle in the barn and the sheep in the corral vanished in the mist. Even the sheep rejects its lamb, the cow rejects its calf, the fields turn into steppe, barley and wheat do not ripen. In other words, abundance and fertility leave the Hittite land. Neither humans nor beasts can conceive. Mountains, trees, pastures, rivers dry up. Humans and gods starve. To remedy the situation, the sun god invites the 1,000 gods to a feast, but the drought and famine have become so severe that they are hungry and thirsty. So all the gods go in search of Telipinu. First, the sun god sends an eagle, but the eagle cannot find him. Then, when the storm god Teshub asks the goddess Hanahana, "Are we going to die of hunger?" Hanahana tells the storm god, "Do something. You search for your son, Telipinu." Teshub searches everywhere for Telipinu but cannot find him. This time, Hanahana assigns the task to a bee and orders it to sting Telipinu's hands and feet if it finds him. Teshub is amazed and criticizes how a bee can find Telipinu when all the gods cannot. At their wits' end, the gods resort to prayer and magic as a last resort to get Telipinu to let go of his anger, rage, and resentment. Meanwhile, the bee Hanahana sent continues searching the land for Telipinu. In a wooded place near a Hittite city called Lizina, the bee finds him enjoying himself, stings his hands and feet immediately. Telipinu then realizes the importance of his land and returns to his homeland. Thus, abundance and fertility returned to the Hittite land. Another legend of Hurry origin is the legend of Kumarbi. This legend became so influential during the Hittite period that it even influenced Greek mythology. According to this legend, in ancient times, Alalu sat on the throne of the gods in the sky, and he was the king of all the gods. The god Anu, one of the most prominent of the other gods, was in charge of serving Alalu, but this did not last long. After Alalu had been king in the sky for 9 years, Anu rose against Alalu and defeated him, sending him to the dark realm, the underworld. This time, Anu takes the throne of the gods in the sky, and Kumarbi begins to serve him. He remains on the throne for 9 years. At the end of the 9th year, Kumarbi revolts against Anu. Anu cannot resist Kumarbi and flees immediately, but Kumarbi pursues Anu and runs after him. Just as Anu is about to ascend into the sky and disappear, Kumarbi grabs his foot and pulls him down to the earth. Kumarbi then bites Anu's phallus and swallows it. He rejoices and laughs. Anu turns to Kumarbi and says, "Are you happy you have swallowed my manhood? Do not rejoice. I have put a burden on you. First, I have implanted in you the noble god of storms. Second, the unbearable river Aranza. And third, the noble Tashmishu. I have given you the 3 terrible gods as a burden." Saying these words, Anu hides in the sky. Kumarbi immediately spits on the ground and goes to the city of Nippur. Here, he counts the months for the birth and gives birth to the gods. Among the gods born, Teshub, the god of storms, calls out to his bull Sheri, "Who can come to fight against me? Who can defeat me? Not even Kumarbi can stand against me." Unfortunately, the tablets on which this legend was written are broken, so the rest is unknown. There is a final legend about how Teshub, the chief god and storm god of the Hittites, became the head of the gods. According to this legend, after all that has happened, Kumarbi sits on the throne in the sky. Suddenly, he gets an idea and leaves for the city of Urkesh. There, he has intercourse 5 times with a rock at the head of a river, and Kumarbi gives birth to a son. He named him Ulikumi and prayed that he would defeat the storm god Teshub when he grew up. In 15 days, Ulikumi grows up and becomes majestic. Seeing the son god Ulikumi growing very fast and his majesty up close, he immediately goes to Teshub. He tells him of the situation. Then Teshub goes to Ulikumi with his brothers Tashmishu and Shaushka. But Ulikumi frightens Teshub. Shoshka tries to seduce Ulikumi by dressing up and singing. She wants to help Teshub, but Ulikumi is both blind and deaf. Teshub is forced to fight Ulikumi. The battle is accompanied by storms and rain, but Teshub cannot win. His brother Tazmishu asks the god Ea for help. Ea tells Upeluri, who raised Ulikumi, that Kumarbi brought his son Ulikumi into the world to kill the storm god Teshub. Upeluri then sweeps the Ulikumi she raised off his feet. Weakened, Ulikumi fights Teshub again, and Teshub finally defeats him. As a result, Teshub owns the throne of heaven and begins to rule over all the gods. In addition to all these legends, there is another important legend that the Hittites wrote down on tablets in their own language. This legend is the Epic of Gilgamesh, the greatest epic of Sumerian mythology. Remember to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for the continuation of the mythology series.